Welcome to Wellness Tea Time with Dr. Rita. My name is Dr. Rita Sonko, a public health physician. I am the host of this show, and I aim to help you engage with different guests to understand more about mental health. Remember, Toliweka, you're not alone. It's very important for us to break the stigma and break the silence about mental health. Welcome to Wellness Tea Time with Dr. Rita. I am so excited to have a special guest with me, Evelyn. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rita.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. And on this episode of Wellness Tea Time with Dr. Rita, Evelyn is having a special conversation with me around student counseling and all your experiences.
Yes.
So before we dive in, could you please introduce yourself to our viewers a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rita. I am also happy to be here on this talk with Toliweka.
Yes.
My name is Evelyn Kharono Lufafa. I am a counseling psychologist by profession, but I'm also a teacher. My background, bachelor's, is education in secondary school. I've taught for about 7 years, and currently I'm working in a university as a counselor, and that is Makerere University. I have done this for at least 5 years. However, in the past, I've also worked in different organizations in psychotherapy. I am a university counselor, but also doing private practice. I have a specialty in trauma therapy with EMDR. I'm also having a specialty in marriage and marriage therapy with a very special therapy called EFT, emotional focus therapy. It really helps to teach couples how to communicate better and how to learn how to solve conflict in a more better way, in an experiential manner. So I love working with young people, youth and adolescents. Having been a teacher before, I tend to understand some of the issues that young people go through. Yes, I'm a married woman. I think it's important for me to say that. I'm married and I have experience of about 20 years in marriage. Yes, and I should say adult children now because they are in late adolescence.
Yes. Wow, fantastic. We will definitely take up or pick up that issue of the marriage side of things and for another podcast though, because I think that's an important topic. But today we focus on the young people and your experience in university. So I wanted to find out, and I'm sure our viewers would want to know, what are the common issues that you're picking up when it comes to student mental health at the university where you're working?
Okay, students in the university that we handle range from the age of about 18 to 25. Now I'm speaking about not maybe undergrads.
Yeah, you're mostly undergrad.
But of course we also have people who are older, but the ones that are quite vulnerable are these ones between 18 to 25 because much as we consider them to be adults, they're still going through lots of changes in their life and the maturity of the brain is not yet there. And therefore, apart from one of the commonest issue is academic pressure because, for the first time they are doing this on their own. No one is managing their time anymore. And then some of them are coming from different backgrounds. So they face different pressures and then issues with career. They come not knowing exactly what I want to be. Okay, I wanted to be a doctor, but I think this is not what I really want. And then relational issues. They range right from the intimate relationships, they are kind of adolescents and mature people. They're in a mix.
They're in the middle, that
so
transition.
They really have relational issues between themselves, then interpersonal. But most of them are having relational issues from the family, and this cascades into their other relationships as they relate with other people in the university. Anxiety, very common. We have very anxious students, and because of the workloads and the change of environment and being on their own for the first time, social phobias. Some of them may even miss school the entire semester because of social phobias.
Wow.
We have those who come with mild to moderate depression, and even those who have, severe depression. We have those who are living with mental health conditions, known but also unknown.
Yeah.
And we have, we have different, but those, I should say those are the commonest. They range around relational, academic, anxiety, depression, a bit of PTSDs depending, but those are now in the extremes. Yes.
Sure. So it's such a wide range of issues that you find yourself dealing with. Addiction too, wow.
It's really now top notch.
Really,
among the university students. Yes.
And what are they mostly using? Are they addicted to what? What kind of stuff are they dealing with?
The commonest in uni is what they call it, it's mirror or marijuana. They have different names for it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may not know what they're exactly doing. But yeah, weed. They use
mostly
weed. And that one is so common.
Sure.
And currently there's something called shisha.
Which
is being used casually by students, both girls and boys, and they tend to say, wow, that's not a drug.
They don't think it's a problem.
They consider it safe. And of course, drinking. They are using both hard, especially the hard drinks, those, the one person called them kill me quick.
Kill me quick drinks. So they are killing themselves quickly. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So clearly a wide range of issues, and of course you bring up the issue of addiction, and one that we really, I think that's another special topic that we need to spend time on, because obviously young people don't even realize that weed is dangerous. It's going to cause a whole lot of problems. Along with all these other issues, the shishas and the hubbly bubblies and all of these kinds of things, So that is incredible, and it does seem like the range of issues has probably changed from what it was 20 years ago. I know you were probably not really practicing in that space, but would you say the issues have changed even from 10, 15 years ago? Is probably quite different.
Yeah, I should, because one, I was a secondary school teacher, and I taught both in local and international school. In local school, at that time, we were not able to really see some of these cases, but we saw more of drinking, use of alcohol and so on. When I joined international school, I saw a little bit of use of drugs and so on, but it was sort of really in a controlled measure.
And it was coming very few,
But currently, the whole thing is subtle, and it's like many children have either tested, they're about, or they're already using.
Wow.
And it's even hard to know, because the kids who look the most innocent will surprise you. They look like, they are very innocent, they don't do anything. And lo and behold, you realize
they've already tried this thing.
Yes.
Wow.
And also the age that they're starting is quite very low, like senior 2.
Really?
Yeah, because
14, 15 already? Yes.
Because in the university, when I'm doing assessment, I love going back to the child is, wanting to know where did they start.
Yeah.
And someone is 22 and will tell you, by senior 2, I had started this. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of parents don't even know what's going on. But that's a topic of another day. Let's focus on this one. And, it's just incredible what we are learning, especially from you as a therapist, and what you see on a day-to-day. So speaking about academic pressure, which you mentioned, so how does the academic environment in university contribute to the mental health challenges that young people are facing?
Yeah, so now, with the experience I've had with university students, I've realized it also has a lot to do with the kind of course a student is doing. The more demanding the course is, the more academic pressures it also have. I've been in contact with students who are doing science courses, like engineering, architecture engineering, civil engineering, come to medical school, law school, computer, those sciences, generally speaking, one, naturally, these are high achievers. So because they already have a high achieving element into them, and some of them have come from schools whereby right from primary school, they have been the best.
Right.
And so they come in a pool of creme de la creme.
Everybody else is also great. Yeah, fantastic.
West.
Yeah.
So creme de la creme, they're all together. And therefore this person is like, oh my God, is not sure. Should I, maybe, I don't know if I'll catch up with all these things.
Yeah.
And remember this time around, the teachers are not spoon feeding anymore. They will come, give you a topic, go research, do a coursework, hand in, give them, and then some of them come with this thing of, I want to read alone so that I pass alone, so that I win so and so. And so the pressure increases because now if the person who has been the best all through, this time round realizes they are not getting the point, they have got a retake. I've interacted with a number of students who came in the university with A, B, 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 A, and so on. And they dropped out. Why? Wow. And you ask them, what happened? I wish I knew that there was a counseling center here, but I just walked out of the university because I did not want to associate myself with failure, because I've never failed in my life. So they
couldn't cope. And they didn't have those skills to be able to cope with that situation.
And then usually they don't work together. Like, someone is dying alone and thinks they are alone in this. So, and also other students are coming from families of parents who are quite demanding. They have been demanding since primary school. And now it so happens that they are not making it, and they begin already self-criticizing. I think I've let down my parents, I've let down myself, I think I'm a fool of myself. And then remember the workload also, depending on the course you're doing. For medical school, it's, because the doctors who are teaching them, some of them are not teachers. In fact, they are not teachers.
They are not teachers.
These are people who were high achievers, and they retained in the university because of their brain. So they do not have those things of, okay, now they are slow learners, this one needs more attention, this one might need more help. No, they expect that if you're given that course, it means you're so good. And so students go through a hula baloo, and that's why we are having more of the drugs and the what, because they look for escape. They look for escape
to try and keep their head above the water kind of situation.
It's from the teachers, it's from the family, the environment itself, because incidentally it's not like in high school whereby it's a bit smaller, you might find a way of going to a teacher to help you. It's different. In university, some students don't interact with lecturers at all to help them calm down or slow down or be able to understand better.
So you're starting to mention some of the coping strategies. Can you say more around some of these strategies that people could really pay attention to?
Oh, yes. It is very useful. First of all, I usually, when I'm speaking to students, I encourage that they should develop a growth mindset. Not a fixed mindset, because when you have a fixed mindset, you think if something is white, it's either white or black. The moment it turns color, then it's something different. You do not associate with it. But a growth mindset allows you to say, okay, this time around, I do not know why I'm dropping my marks. Could it be a new environment? Could it be I read alone? Do I need support? Do I need to go to a lecturer? Sometimes we convince students to go and speak to this lecturer. Don't need fear. Because when you speak to them, they're going to help you to slow down and also give you more strategies. Joining groups, not being alone, support groups, but also academic groups, whereby, when you read about 5 people, you realize, okay, at least I've revised this and this. But when you read alone, there's a student who missed an exam, a law student. He was in the library reading seriously. And the exam was going on. And this brought down this child. The only good thing is that the lecturer was so understanding. He realized the boy had broken down and said, you know what, go to the counseling center. And when he came, we worked and he was able to calm down, because for him that was the end of the world. How does he miss an exam? A law student and very bright.
And he was busy reading for the same exam that he missed.
So we encourage students not to be loners, to join support groups, to join groups, reading groups, to have a friend who at least reminds you and say, hey, what's going on?
This is going
I'm not
on,
understanding
yeah.
this course. Please help me. There are people who will fail a paper like 5 times, but they could have got help if they spoke out. So we want students to learn a help-seeking behavior so that they do not suffer alone. Because I know when they seek help, at least it will not be as worse.
Yeah, as it is when they don't seek it. And I suppose it's also kind of a different culture that they need to adopt in school. What you need to study, how you need to study is very different. There's a lot of cram work as well and all of that. And here now you need to learn, and you need to work with others, and it's part of the design of the courses that you actually, it's not just about you, it's about the group, and you know, so group dynamics become important, communication skills are critical, all of these things. And it does sound like a lot of children are probably coming without those essential socio-emotional skills that they need to cope.
Actually, we do not have them in school. They are not taught them in high school, so they come to the university very raw. They come with a competition heart, because that's what it is in secondary. It's a parrot learning. Read hard, pass exams. You come here, the lecturer is saying, this is an open book exam. Concentrate to it. And then the person is like,
you mean the books are going to be there?
And they don't even... the same lecturer will say, you've coped. This is not your work. So because they expect you to now begin drop regurgitating. But
but learn and understand,
and, you know,
assimilate the ideas.
Wow. Students do not have the skills.
So clearly there is a room for improvement in the way we prepare the kids for university too. So thinking about now the child who has a mental health challenge, what kind of support systems are there? I know you've spoken about the guidance, counseling and guidance center that you run, or that you're part of. What else is there to support these children who may be struggling with a mental health challenge? I may not say that really it's the best yet, but what we have tried right now is to come up through the help of different people and organizations to come up with what we call a peer buddy system, whereby fellow students are trained about, let me say, depending on the, Makerere has about 10 colleges, so I may not know about other universities, but you know, from the 10 colleges, train at least 10 peer buddies and have about 120 of them. And they are given basic counseling skills. And they usually ask a simple question as, how are you feeling? And so the students are attracted to have that culture of speaking about how they're feeling, that you know, I'm feeling sad, I'm not happy, and then they encourage them to seek help. Sometimes they just need to listen to each other, and these things can be solved. But also we do mental health awareness campaigns in the university during the orientation. We move through all the colleges, speak about mental health, some of these things I spoke about, which they should expect to meet as they come to the university. Unfortunately, you know that age. At that age, when someone is 19, 20, they're like, oh, that's boring. They will not come. So usually they miss orientation, and then they're in third year. Things are not going well. Just a relationship like this will make a student lose out on academics. Because they do not know what to do, where to go, who to approach, where do I start? And you know, we do not have a very strong system with parents when children are in university. So we encourage, we do some mental, but I should say we still have lots of gaps, because I think the university is so big, the counselors are few, so sometimes we may not reach every student. And we try to popularize mental health messages. Amazing. So you touched on the parents in passing there, so I want to unpack that a little bit. In your experience, what is the role of parents and families? What role should they play in helping young people to basically, you know, acclimatize to the university environment and have good mental health?
In my experience as a counselor, not just in the university, but I've dealt with both young people and teenage children, what I know is that a parent is an expert of their child. And that is if they take keen interest in knowing who their child is, how their child might, you know, come out and behave in certain situations. So if a parent is involved, it's a plus on the mental health of a student, because they already know I have support back home. But of course, unfortunately, it may not be as I am speaking. That is maybe 1%.
1% of the students.
Yes,
wow.
Because I've dealt with students who go study abroad, and they are brought for counseling. And one of the gaps we have is that at that moment there's a break of communication between them and family, because there is this feeling of parents that once you enter the gates of Makerere University, you are mature, you will manage, you can face the world on your own. And I dealt with a 21-year-old who told me that coming to Makerere was the longest journey for him in his life. He had always studied 1 kilometer away from home or 2 kilometers. This time he was 300 kilometers away from home. Sure. He fell in this large place
where he feels lost now.
Social anxiety, couldn't speak. You know, when parents disconnect in a way that when students feel funny, that now when I call my mom, it's going to say, hey, stop being like a baby. You should mature. You should grow up, you know. And some parents, of course, try. They try to follow up their children. And those children in particular, they do well. They get similar mental health challenges. But these are the students who will walk and come for help and say, hey, I got this problem. But anyway, the good thing, my mom told me this and this and that. So their resilience is better. So parental involvement, at least when people are below 25, it is still needed.
Still needed. They're still actually growing.
Because they're still growing. A student will know, okay, I'm not performing well, but I am backed up by my mother. When I call, she will say, well, I hope you need to read better. What's happening? Is it the pressure at school? And then the child will open up. But some students, when you ask them and say, do you mind telling this? I mean, they are being chased out of, maybe chased is a hard word, but they can be discontinued because of not catching up with the university policy grades and
keeping
so on.
up with the grades.
And then you tell the student, what do we do? Can we tell your parents about this? I say, no.
Wow.
I can't, because my parents, I'm going to be the topic in church, the subject everywhere, how I've failed, I'm embarrassing them. And you see, this will create piles of more mental health issues. So parents, if you're out there, please do not give up on these people until they are 25 years. At least then we think that at least they have done the basic education and the basic growing. It's not babying them. By the way, we are not inviting parents to come and lay beds for this.
But I suppose it's like when you're building a building. You need scaffolding, right? Yes. And that scaffolding, you know, those metallic things they put outside of the building to hold it up, to keep it, you know, until it's strong. It's strong enough. And then when it's strong enough, you don't need, you start removing the scaffolding, right? Yes. So I think the children,
I'm also a parent, if I say my own example. My child went to school and moved to a very far place for the first time. And as a parent, I had my own anxieties, and I realized if I'm having these anxieties, how about the child? And therefore, I had to deal with my own anxieties by speaking to other people who have gone through the same challenge. And then I made sure that I now ask my son, how are you doing? How are you doing with the loneliness? And they're like, it's lonely here. But anyway, I'm reading, I'm doing. So these simple chats, it's not a lot. A child knows that.
It goes a long way.
When I can at least call my dad, I can at least call my mom. Yes.
Wow. So the issue around social relationships, which you also touched on as one of the, you know, the problem areas or the triggers of a lot of issues. How do peer relationships and social interactions impact on students' mental well-being? Because it does seem like this is an area that requires a lot more attention. And what advice would you offer the students, you know, navigating all of these dynamics around all these social issues that they're going through?
Thank you, Dr. Rita. That's a very wonderful question.
Mm.
And like I had mentioned, one of the things that would bring students for counseling is relational, highly relational. And for me, this is normal because one, they are still in the growing phase and they are still learning how to relate. But also natural as human beings, we are created for connections. But these connections are learned right from birth to growing up. So instead that some people are coming from broken families, from dysfunctional families, others from functional families. So I've related with students and started to analyze that these from more of dysfunctional families where there's separation, you know, and so on, or toxic relationships between the people who raise them, or abuse and so on, they tend to find difficulty to have resilience or to relate well with others.
Right.
And they may not, they don't feel appreciated. They have high rejection spirits. You know, when something happens, and you know, like people can have a problem. Someone will feel, I think I'm not good enough. And so sometimes I go like, I ask students, do you have friends? Because especially when a person has come to me and they're kind of depressive and so on. And you say someone saying, no, I don't have friends.
Wow.
Say, even one like this? Well, some acquaintances, but you know, I don't have friends because people don't like me. And I'm like, okay, I know that no one can be there where everyone doesn't like you, or everyone likes you. So you realize when you're going too deeper, you realize right from family, there's an issue with relationships. Now, when it comes to this intimate relation, boyfriend, girlfriend, now those ones are more chaotic. Because today's children relate in a way that they want this magic fast love, you know, and then they have this thing they call no attachments. They can have sex with as many people as possible, but the promise is no attachments. So we have very many bruised people, especially the girls. I don't know, boys will do the same, but I don't know if for them they do it from their head, the girls do it from their heart. So it's like it was an agreement, but it turns out a problem, and incidentally this affects academics, because once the relationships are not stable, the academics will be affected.
Absolutely.
So there is a lot of coaching needed. We go through teaching them how to relate with themselves, because it has a lot to do with self-esteem, learning how to relate with themselves, accept themselves, and then go through maybe therapy if they are really having damage within themselves, but also giving them skills, relational skills, first basic relational skills, and learning how to just make basic friendships without having to say that someone has to be my boyfriend, be like my husband, to show that I'm relating. So they have lots of heartbreaks and so on because of the kind of relationships they have carried. In fact, we call them situationships.
Situationships. That's a good word.
Situational relationships. Today you're taking me out, buying me something, and that's it. And the next day one time I had a very funny experience with a very young boy who was so honest. For him, he knew his honesty in his heart. Had this fellow little girlfriend, and they were just chatting with a fellow friend, and he was like, you know, my girlfriend is this and this. You know how you can speak nice about your girlfriend. And then he said, oh, who is that? No, he didn't mention the name. But then as we were speaking, the other one also started speaking about the girlfriend. And they realized they were speaking about the same person. And this boy dropped everything. He could not even go to class for about 3 days.
Oh, no.
But thank God, he found his way to come for
for counseling.
So we had to go through relationship counseling and so on, and to help him first, help himself, then turn back to his academics. Because we usually want to remind them that the first thing that brought you here is academics. Relationship is secondary. So there's a lot to do with relationships with young people. They really do not have skills unless they are coming already from families where they have been supported all through. Because there are some who come and tell you, I don't have a boyfriend. And I'm curious, usually I ask, do you have a boyfriend? Because we are dealing with university students. Or you have a girlfriend? One will tell you, I don't have. And I'll go on and ask, why? Why don't you have one? So, well, my course is so busy and I don't want, I know relationships take too much time, but I'll relate at some point. So I know that this person is in charge of their life.
Yeah.
And then one who has, I'm like, okay, so how are you managing? It's not easy. And you realize, okay, this one might be disturbed and so maybe needs skills.
Needs more skill.
Yes.
Upskilling to cope.
Yes.
So clearly lots of dynamics there that require attention. And I think you pick up on the issue of resilience again, right from a young age. If we can build that emotional resilience, when they get older, it's easier for them to cope, even coping with disappointment, coping, problem solving, having those social skills and self-management skills that people need. All right, so as we conclude, I mean, I don't even know where the time has gone, but as we conclude, based on your experience, right, what do you believe universities should prioritize to better support students' mental health?
For me, starting from, I would say, basic level is to integrate mental health in everything. So that even in these classes with their lecturers, at least we need to impact on the lecturers to be aware, because the colleges where we've had lecturers who have gone through basic mental health training or who are mindful, those colleges do better because they will refer students and they are more understanding. So if it can be like integrated into everything, as someone is going to teach, just finding out, if you're not feeling well, it's okay, you cannot feel okay, you can get help. If it's academic, maybe you need to see the registrar or you need to see me, or I know that now there's a problem there because youth with any student goes to a lecturer now. If it's a female now, those are other issues, barriers, and say when students come to us, they say we are trying to abuse them sexually. Now there is a barrier between some students with lecturers sometimes because of that. But at least they can do basic by sending them for help. And also intensify mental health awareness in the university, have several support groups, especially when it comes to drugs and substance abuse, for students to learn about this thing of substance use disorders, because this is so common and very many students, and we know that some mental disorders are triggered by substance use, and so sometimes the family even wonders and says, in our family we do not have anyone with mental health disorder. So how did this come up? Some of the things have been triggered through substance use and drugs and so on. So this awareness will help to at least, we may not take everything away, but at least to save very many students before it's too late. And also the peer buddy system, peer mentors.
That's a really good one.
Yes. Because usually students love listening to fellow students.
Exactly.
And they trust, they say, if so and so is saying this works, so, and they are my age. Because one time we were listening to an ex-space and students were saying, me to go for counseling, they imagine that people in the counseling center are old, so they're going to tell us outdated information. So having a peer mentor system in the university will work so well. And generally mental health awareness sessions in the university through the students are so much on social media. Through their social media, posting things about how much it's, not to be stigmatized. There's a lot of stigma in the university with mental health, because students will say, when they see you coming for counseling, they imagine you have a mental disorder. So those are some of the things, the barriers that we want to see break down, so that students can, when students get, what I've testified is students who come for counseling early, before the issue is so huge, they usually overcome and
they are more successful.
Now, those ones who come late, it's firefighting. You can be successful, you may not be, but you still help to save a life. That's what I should say.
So it's really critical to normalize seeking help. And to understand, again, Toliweka,
Yes.
you're not alone.
Yes.
In whatever you're going through,
Yeah.
there's already others that have walked that path.
Yes.
And the support that is available. So getting that, but your point around integrating is really important, that lecturers shouldn't feel like, oh, me, I only teach law or physics or art or whatever. But they must understand that they also have a little role to play in at least directing the students to yourselves in the counseling and guidance centers and sharing the information. Thank you so much for this fantastic conversation. I hope that for our listeners, it's very insightful. I do hope that some parents out there are also listening and they will understand that you will understand how to support your young person. Before the age of 25, they still need this scaffolding. So we need to provide that and make sure that we provide the guidance, we are there, we are listening, we are able to help them. And to you and your team, thank you for the awesome job that you're doing at Varsity. And I hope that you will continue building and improving the program going forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rita, for inviting me here. I really enjoyed this talk of Toliweka, people knowing that they are not alone in the struggle.
Thank you so much. We will definitely have you back to talk about 2 other topics. I think we talked about the substance use disorders that deserves a conversation of its own, and of course the marital issues and your vast experience around that. I'm sure a lot of people that are dealing with the challenges there are also looking forward to that particular conversation. Thank you so much again.